Hello people, it's Gino here from realeverydayenglish.com. I'm squinting my eyes because the sun is shining directly into my eyes, but today we're going to take a deep dive look at the word lift. So let's do this. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here and you are a person who is trying to improve your English and sound like a more natural and confident English speaker, then you're definitely in the right place and you might want to consider subscribing to the channel. If you do subscribe, then make sure you hit the little bell notification so then that way you never miss a free upload. Thank you for joining me on this really sunny but really cold winter's day here in northern England. I'm currently sat across from a lake which is called the Three Sisters. It's completely frozen. The birds are currently walking on top of it, so I'm going to flip the camera and show you before we get into today's topic. You can see the lake is just completely frozen, and if I zoom in on the birds, you can see the birds walking on top of the lake. And behind the trees over there, there's a very large industrial zone, so there's lots of warehouses, factories, a bus depot, places like that. So what we would call in northern British English an industrial estate. Okay, so the word lift, let's take a deep dive. So the first and most common use of the word lift here in northern England, or in England in general, is to replace the word elevator in American English, okay? So a lift is like an enclosed space which is designed for lifting people or things. People or things, you can get lifted in a lift to lift them upwards basically. So for an example, if you walk into a hotel and you've got somebody with you who can't walk up the stairs, then you can ask somebody who works there, excuse me, is there a lift in this hotel or not? Another very common way you'll hear the word lift used is to describe raising something to a higher level or position physically. So for example, I can lift my arm above my head. Or if you've got hold of something, you can lift a trophy above your head or something like that. So it's the action of lifting something to a higher level or position. Another way you'll hear it used is to describe raising your head, raising one's head, eyes or face, okay? So if I'm looking down at the floor, I can lift my head to look at the camera. Or you could say, I lifted my eyes to look into the camera. We use the word lift to describe the disappearing of fog, cloud or smoke, okay? So when we use lift in this way, it means it raises upwards and disappears. So you'll often hear, if it's foggy in the morning and then the fog disappears, you'll hear people saying something like, oh look, the fog has lifted, and it means the fog has disappeared. We use it in some circumstances to describe when someone is increasing the volume of the voice, okay? There's two phrases we use for this. One is raise your voice and the other one is to lift someone's voice, okay? So if someone starts shouting at me, I can say something like, don't raise your voice at me, mate. Don't raise your voice at me. I wouldn't say don't lift your voice. I wouldn't say that. A situation where I would maybe use the word lift is, let's say there's somebody who's giving a speech to a lot of people, okay? And the people at the back can't quite hear him. Then I could say something like, he had to lift his voice because the people at the back couldn't hear him. So I would use it in that situation. We use the word lift to express when someone has increased the prices, or an organisation has increased the prices, or increased the level of something, for example, interest rates. So you could say something like, since the pandemic hit, the supermarkets have lifted their prices, and it means they've increased them. We also use it to express increasing your rank or position, or a team's rank or position. So for example, let's say my local team, Wigan Athletic, they win a game this weekend, then I could say something like, because they won that game, it lifted them to third in the table, which means it lifted them to third position in the league. Another way you'll hear it used is to express raising a person's spirits or confidence, okay? So to give you an example, I listen to motivational speakers in the morning because it lifts my spirits. The word lift can also be used to express when restrictions, bans or regulations have been stopped, okay? So for example, at the moment here in England there are certain restrictions in place because of the lockdown, but I'm hoping that soon the government will lift the restrictions, and it means to put an end to them. So the actual dictionary definition of this use is to formally end restrictions, rules or laws, whatever. This next one is incredibly informal and it's British as well. And we use the word lift to describe stealing something. So let's say a woman goes to the supermarket and she decides to steal a jacket or a coat and she gets caught. Then I could use something like this to describe it. She got caught lifting a jacket from the supermarket, and it means she got caught stealing. And we also refer to thieves, people who go into shops and steal, we refer to them as shoplifters. We're kind of on the opposite side of the same coin. We can also use it to describe when someone gets arrested by the police. So another slang term for steal in the UK is nick. So let's say I could say something like, oh, I was at the supermarket this morning and a woman got lifted because she was trying to nick a coat, and it means she got arrested. This next one is incredibly informal and incredibly British as well, and we use the word lift to describe getting a free ride in someone else's car or vehicle, okay? So let's say I don't have a car, I don't have one, but I need to get to the supermarket, which is 10 miles away. Then I can ring my friend on the phone and say, mate, can you give me a lift to the supermarket? And it means, can you give me a ride to the supermarket? Give me a ride is something the Americans would say. We wouldn't say that, we'd use the word lift. And the last one is we use the word lift to express, to replace give me a hand or can you give me some help. So let's say I'm trying to lift something and it's too heavy. Then I could say to my friend, excuse me mate, give me a lift with this, will you? Give me a lift. And it means, will you give me a hand? That's it for today's video, people. Thanks for watching. As always, if you found it useful, feel free to share it far and wide with your English learning friends. Spread the word of real everyday English, because we're gaining traction now and the community is getting bigger and bigger, which I'm happy about. It's a pleasure to serve you all and help you in your English learning studies. Take care and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye people, ciao.